We're recording.
We're recording. All right, well, let's get going then. So I'll introduce myself in a minute, but just so you know, this is a beginner's class. I will be starting from the beginning on this. I've done this, I can't remember what I've got, 40, 50 slides in this. I've given this presentation before on a half day and not gotten through it, simply because questions just come from all over the place. And I think it works really well that way. So by all means, interrupt. The idea here is that everyone walks away from this 2-hour session with a good understanding of the program, some tips on how to run your meetings, how to give your kids a good experience. And of course, we're all trying to figure out how to do this in this current socially responsible way that we're living right now. So I'm open to suggestions. I have 3 kids on my team. 2 are mine. One is a this FTC. I don't do FLL anymore, on FTC. And my 3rd kiddo, his dad tested positive this week, so he can't come. And that's 3 kids. So I can only imagine those of you that have large groups, how you're handling it. So let's all use this to be able to exchange ideas on how to make this season successful for everyone. Okay. So let me start, and then I'll get everyone to introduce themselves, because I'm interested in knowing where everyone's at and if there's anything specific that you want to learn with this class. So it's the same slide I did in the previous session, and then maybe whatever you think is best, Allison, to get this information to people. If I know you have our the JBots linked on your website, but in any way that you guys want to reach me, go for it whenever possible. I'm going to hand over your questions to the kids, because they're really I think the student to student interaction is best when it comes to specifics about the robot or missions and so on. But certainly I can help with coaching issues, coaching questions. The bottom part, like I explained earlier, is this is something I picked up from a very, very famous team out of Fairbanks that won Worlds. Schrodinger's hats that won Worlds, not just Alaska, the entire planet competition in St. Louis one year. And one of the things that they told me was to start a nonprofit as a way to help teams in the state to be able to collect donations from businesses or individuals, and then be able to turn it around to back towards your team. So Wendy Bryden, who's our senior mentor here for Alaska, lives in Moose Pass. And what she does is she applies for grants, often from local companies or that are in her area. And I think I just wrote her a check for $2,580. So she applied for this grant. She got the $2,500 grant. She puts down AOF Robotics, which stands for Agents of First. She put that down as the nonprofit. The grant is sent to me in the role of the treasurer for the nonprofit. I deposited in the AOF Robotics account, and then I can write her a check. I don't charge any fees or anything. Then she gets a check from AOF Robotics for the same amount, and then she used that this year to kickstart her FTC program out of Seward. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
Typically, I'd imagine grants that kind of takes a while for applications for various things, and then before you actually receive it. That sounds like something that, I mean, it's a great idea, but I would imagine you probably need at least a 6-month to a year lead time to get those.
Whatever, I've never done a grant myself personally, but whatever it is that Wendy does, she gets it relatively quickly. Allison, I think this would be a great session. Have Wendy, because she's done it several times now, do a half hour, I'm thinking that would be good, about a half-hour session on how she goes about applying for grants and how she uses AOF Robotics as a way to get the funds. And of course, this is all above board, right? There's certain things that the grants will require you to do, like prove that the money was used for that and so on. And we work together to make sure that that's done. So how does that sound?
Sounds like a great topic for a training yesterday.
Okay. And I've had simple things like, my neighbor wants to donate $100 so we can buy pizzas for the qualifier. Great. I mean, I have called the state of Alaska to ask if that's a legal donation, and they said, well, is it going to a robotics team? Yes. Then yes, it is legal. So it can be anything like that, and then that neighbor was able to use that donation as a tax deductible deduction on their taxes. Perfectly legal. It's totally legal as long as it goes to something to do with robotics and what you see down there as the mission. Okay. Next, I always put this in my presentations. You can read through it later, but basically, why are we putting ourselves through this? Sometimes you will ask yourself that question. I know I have many times in 12 years. This is why. All three of my children have gone through, all of them have done FLL, all of them have done FTC, and 2 of them have done FRC. And my career as a coach is coming to an end because my kids are all about to be done with high school. But these are the kinds of skills that I've seen my children and the kids I have coached over the years, the kinds of life skills that they've acquired. And one of the years that I went to Worlds, we were in the coaches meetings with the head ref, and the head ref said something that has always stuck with me. And he said, okay, we're all adults now in this room. We don't have any kids in here. So let's all tell the truth. We do FIRST Robotics, and it has nothing to do with the robot. Nothing. We do FIRST Robotics. Oh, we do FIRST Robotics because we are teaching our kids some of these skills that you're seeing up here on the screen right now, and the robot is just the hook. So if you think of it that way, I know it has helped me sometimes, but the kids walk away with knowledge. I mean, you just saw my kid having to come in and help me with this because they've used these skills and these tools often. So when you're talking to parents, sometimes this is good information to have. So here's what we'll do today. I'm going to run right from the start. We'll talk about FIRST, how FIRST was launched, what it's all about. We'll talk about what is now called FLL Challenge and used to just be called FLL. And I'll go through just some basic things about what's a team, what is the challenge this year, what a season typically looks like versus what it's going to look like this year, how to register, budget, what your meeting should look like, and what a typical tournament looks like. Then I will go through the challenge itself, meaning replay, and we'll talk about core values, innovation project, and robot game. And then I want to mention a little bit these brand new resources that have come out this year. Well, the engineering notebook, I think, is in its 2nd year. And we'll talk about these resources because what I'm seeing is that they're just a huge leap was done this year in the usefulness of these documents. That I used to get this stuff from FIRST and kind of go, yeah, nice, but not that useful. This year, I'm telling you, I think it is really, really well done. And I think it will be really useful, particularly to new coaches. So before I jump in there in my don't panic slide, can we go through, and I don't know that I'll be able, let's see if I can do it this way because I've got my presentation on my screen. Okay, so I'll just go through. We have Allison, we have Elaine, Tyler.
extra sheets
Somebody-
upstairs? Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to mute this one because I think that's where our noise is coming from. Okay, Tyler, quickly, I guess where you are, how many kids, how many teams, and where you personally are at in your coaching career and knowledge when it comes to FLL.
So I guess we're in Anchorage. I have twins who are 9, and they and we had done the lower one, the younger kid level for
Junior.
the junior, yeah, for the
Okay.
past couple of years, and we had typically had 6 kids from the same elementary school, and then with COVID, we ended up with a couple of our pods sticking together. Officially, I have 8 kids, but we haven't met in a long time.
Okay.
So, and to be honest with you, you know, I heard you speaking about like virtual stuff, and we're not at that level. I mean, we're just trying to get the robot to turn 90 degrees, you know, and to try and get them to do it virtually. I mean, I don't know how successful we'd be at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The good news is between my twins and a neighbor friend who were in the same circle, I have a few kids that we're continuing with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I always say the hardest thing to do in FIRST Robotics, in my opinion, is to make the robot go straight. So when you say turning 90 degrees, that is not trivial. It is not trivial. So I completely understand. All right. Karen walked away. Let's go to Serena in Delta Junction, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm from Delta Junction. We have a homeschool team, 2 of my kids and 2 of a friend's kids. One of the kids has been in it before, one year. So the rest of them are new to it. I have never even seen a competition. I know nothing about it. Well,
Okay.
not nothing. I've been reading a lot, but the biggest glitch for us is we've been working on programming. It's the Delta Junction elementary school has done it every year. And so one of the teachers is a friend. So I asked her some questions and she couldn't even help me because the software is totally new for this year. And so she's thinking of the old software. I have the new software. I can't even get the old software, which she says is way better. I can't even download it because my computer is Catalina and I even on another, so I don't even have that option. So I'm trying to use the new stuff. And she says, well, just YouTube it. Well, it's so new, there's nothing YouTube. So I'm trying to figure out where to find the tech support. Like we have a lot of things programmed, but there's 2 problems. One, even if we set it just right, it'll go straight there. It'll do exactly what we say and come back. But that, if it lurches at the very beginning, then it's totally off. So there's that.
I'll help you with that. I can help you with that. Yeah, that's
the
no
other
problem.
part is the sensors. We did what the unit said for doing the color sensor. The robot trainer, and it just didn't work. And we've asked around numerous people. Nobody can help us because they said, well, we don't even know that one. And I'm like, where do I find out?
Yeah.
What resources? So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Let me go back to Karen.
Hi, I was just looking for the links to 2 good YouTube videos I had found on how to run the new EV3 programming software. Both of them are made by kids and they're pretty good. But I'm Karen Robinette. I'm with Teelan Middle School, have been for, I don't know, I think 2 years before this, coaching our robotics team. But yeah, and judging and helping to organize a tournament. But I still feel totally ignorant, and especially this year.
Yeah.
We've our 8th grade team came back, but the others are just random kids that don't know each other and they're in and out because of COVID, and trying to figure out how to form the others into 2 teams that cohere is our big challenge right now.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Randolph. I would be a first-year coach. We have my wife Lonnie is also on this Zoom. We have two kids. Both were involved last year and the year before, so they have some experience. However, for our part, this is a significant step up in terms of engagement and involvement to trying to come up with how this is going to work. So some of the challenges that we're having, I still think we're pretty early into this. I think they have access to a robot that they worked with before, so I'm pretty confident that they can hopefully get that up in relative short order. But the team composition part, right now, we are originally one larger team. It was a mix of Homebridge and our school, Montessori Borealis. But I'm not sure that that's going to work because when you pare down, you find that some parents or some of the interests that seem like might have been there might not be there, at least not to the degree that's necessary. So I still think that we're going to be perhaps shuffling around that. But the other challenge that I think we have, and this is the most significant one, is, because my wife, she works in a medical profession, it's not really very viable for us to have a lot of folks that have that real in-person thing. And that's so intricate, that's so important to this at some level. So I'm really kind of struggling with how we're going to be able to, get the kids really moving towards, working on the robot. I think we had in mind that perhaps we could at some point mix in some in-persons, but we're not really there yet as far as the community here. There's COVID levels are pretty high. Yep. And, we really can't take that chance right now based on where she works. So that's kind of where we are with this. I don't know that if you have a team where there's a high mix of new kids and a new coach, that it's very viable to pull it together totally virtual. So that's kind of the struggle that we have.
Okay. Well, I'm sure Allison and I have a lot of things going through my mind I want to say, but I'll let you guys talk and then I'll see if I can maybe address some of what you're talking about. Okay. Lanny, did you want to add anything to that? Was it okay what he said?
Yeah, I mean, he summed it up. It is. I work with, we work with cancer patients and Medicare patients and things like that at my job. So our bubble since March has literally been the people in our family and then PPE and at work. So that's kind of all we're comfortable with right now, especially with the numbers rising.
As it should be. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go to Julie. Meg, you'll be next.
Hi. So this is my 3rd year as a coach, but this year I have all new kids. We have four kids on the team. None of them have been on a FLL team before. So, we're kind of just focusing on fun and learning. Good. And just we're using the new Spike Prime. We think it's fun, looks a lot more fun than the EV3. Seems like it's much easier to just build a robot, quickly and try something and then take it apart completely and make a new one. And, so we've gone a couple weeks by just trying to build different robots and seeing how the wheels work and how the whole thing goes. And and just even thinking about what attachments are and, just starting over. And then as far as the theme this year, I think it's amazing. I mean, I feel like somebody could come up with an amazing Alaskan, innovative, how do you exercise, I think everybody needs help with that. So I think that, I mean, I see somebody from Alaska like coming up with an amazing idea for, especially in the wintertime, you know, how to get moving and exercise. So I like the theme a lot. I think it's fun.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right, Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg. I live in Juneau, and we are a brand new team. I've never had any FLL experience before.
Okay.
So trying to learn fast. We have a team through Homebridge, which is the Juneau School District homeschooling group. I have 6, maybe 7 kids on my team. We only started meeting this week. We've had 2 virtual Zoom meetings. I think the thing that I'm really looking for is keeping things fun and interactive on Zoom. So like they were talking about the core value challenges and how we can do fun things like that in a Zoom environment. I'd love some good ideas on that.
Okay.
Almost all the kids are brand new. So yeah.
Okay.
It's an interesting year.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Zach?
Hi, good afternoon. Let's see, I'm working with 4 school districts in Bristol Bay. We just recently relocated from Dillingham to Palmer, where we're based, but work with I guess 23 schools total, and I run a career and technical education program, kind of a distant one, where we generally have kids flying into to the hubs to participate in classes. But right now we're just kind of looking at ways to keep kids engaged, keep kids busy, kind of have just some interesting challenges. And I'm just really wanting to learn about first and have kind of started some dialogue with the different principals in the region about having some number of teams start up, and so I'm just really interested in kind of trying to get an idea of, I'm attending today not as a coach, but just get an idea of how this can work. And a lot of our sites are 2 to 5 high school students in the school, so like if there's ways that we can do this kind of via distance, if there's 1 or 2 students in a school that can work with another 1 or 2 students, and just trying to get a sense of what's possible and learn a little bit more here. So thanks for holding the meeting.
Okay. Polly.
Hi, I'm in Onoktuvik Pass, Alaska, and that's with North Slope Borough School District.
Okay.
I'm new to robotics and coaching robotics. We've had a team here in the past. It's been maybe 2 years. Mm-hmm. And some of the students that were involved, kind of the go-to people, have moved away. So that makes it it'll be a new group. And I'm hoping that we can get maybe 5th through 9th graders involved. Okay. I know of a handful who are likely interested, but we haven't met yet.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's see. I have 2 Lindsays. I have 1 in McGrath, so let's start with Lindsay and McGrath.
Hi, I can try and take my video and do it too, if I can get back to it. There we go. I think
there we are.
So this is our first time being part of an FFL league. We've heard, or FLL, sorry. We've heard good things from everyone that has brought it up. So it was just time to try it for ourselves, but we are just getting started. We have 5 kids. It's me and another friend, and basically some of our own children. I do teach at the McGrath Public School, but they're not in a position to do any like after school extracurricular things. So a friend and I just really wanted to do it. So we're going to dive in with our own kids.
Good.
And try it out and hopefully get through some of the kinks, and then maybe in the future years do something more with the community. We've met maybe 3 times aside from watching the video this morning together as a team. So we're just getting used to the components and how it works, and kind of playing with just some of that initial lessons. We have the Spike Prime initial lessons of how to operate some of the programs, but we have not gotten as far as building all the mission pieces or trying anything on the board. Nothing like that yet, just conceptual, trying to learn how to use the robot, how to pair the programming. And I don't know if you discussed this earlier, or if you're going to later, but I did have a question just to maybe throw out there for whenever you get to that. But can you explain like how the qualifying and stuff goes? Because I feel like I've heard from other people that it's by region and stuff like that, and I don't have any info to share with the kiddos. I'm like, well, I'll try and find out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, between Allison and I, we will definitely give you how it is that we are going to qualify. It's, you know, there's always going to be well, that's how we've done it for the past 12 years. This year, it'll be a little bit different, but yes, we will tell you. I mean, that is still part of the program is to have tournaments and qualifying events and so on. Okay. There was another Lindsay Brush. Okay, I remember you now from this morning. Yes.
Yeah, I was just in this morning. I've been coaching for a while, but like I have 13 kids on 2 teams that are brand new to this in the school that I'm at. So like it's not necessarily the coaching as much as I don't remember what it's like to have that many new kids on a team. Okay. So I figured I'd just kind of listen in and see what's going on.
Okay, wonderful. Who have I? Mary.
I'm unmuting myself now. I am in Juneau. I have a team of 8, and it's a mix of 4 veterans from a team from the middle school here last year, and then 4 of my son's friends. And I have coached before. I'm kind of returning back into it. So it always feels a little overwhelming. So listening in today will be great.
Okay, wonderful. And Carrie.
Hi, I'm a new teacher at Koptovic. I have a team that has competed before. I've never coached, and we are starting from scratch because the school burned down last February.
I remember, yes. Okay, have I missed anyone? I don't think so. Okay, wonderful.
I will talk about my coaching. I'm also a coach. So I'm in Juneau, and I'm right there with the rest of you guys trying to figure out how to do this in a season where we cannot meet. And actually, because I'm a Girl Scout team, I've also got specific Girl Scout rules, and I can do nothing in person right now. Everything's virtual. So I have 2 teams. One has 6 right now. One has 5, although I need to bump it up slightly. So working that one. But yeah, we're meeting entirely virtually, and because the tournaments are way out in the distant future, we're really mostly having fun online and connecting and trying to get something a little bit done so that we're inching forward in the season a little at a time. I'm taking things out to the kids to do. I took the robot mission models out to them, delivered them. You build these at home, and we're doing things like that, and we're being creative. So as the season goes along and you guys are trying to figure out how to do this virtually, you can certainly, we can talk, touch base with me. I have no grand and glorious answers, but I told my kids that they're guinea pigs, and we're experimenting with things so that we can kind of all be in this together and figure it out through the season. Really the focus every year should be on having fun, but absolutely, totally, completely, this year, the focus needs to be on having fun. Let's have a fun season. And, you know, if we manage to get good robot games going, awesome, that's a bonus. But let's have fun. Let's have a good season and show our kids that we can be resilient and work through challenges. So there we go. There.
Perfect segue into my don't panic slide. I've used this slide for many years, but I think that it is particularly on point for this year, and exactly what Allison just said. And I think what a lot of you are alluding to is when you look at it from the perspective of the program, and when they designed the program, they're trying to design it from everything from you know, in this case 9-year-old who comes in having zero knowledge about the program, all the way to there are teams in Germany made up of 16-year-olds who've been doing this for years and years and years, and they want to be challenged. So the program is designed to address a extremely broad range of knowledge. So when you come in as a new coach or as a new student doing this and you look at the program, you think, there's no way I can do this. It is absolutely not expected that anyone will do all of it. Toby said it today. Even the teams that have, you know, the world's highest score by the end of the year, even those teams cannot do all the missions. Okay, so don't just let go of that and don't panic. It's meant to be something that you build year after year after year, and that each year the kids are able to build on what it is that they did the year before. And so that's the first thing, is just take on whatever it is that makes sense for you in your community and with whatever resources you have available to you. The first year that we did it, when we moved to Alaska in 2008, we did not even attempt a project at all. It was too much. We just put it off to the side. We knew that meant that we were not eligible for any awards, but that was okay. We just wanted to take, you know, one little step at a time. And so because this is for beginners, I'm just really want everyone to walk away and just say, let's just take on whatever it is that makes sense today, this year, particularly, you know, with everything that we're facing with our community interaction right now, face to face. So so my no pun intended is that first, we'll just quickly talk about what FIRST is very quickly. So FIRST was it stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. It's a nonprofit, exactly like AOF Robotics, founded by Dean Kamen in 1989. I double checked yesterday that when I first did this slide, he had 440 patents. He now has over 1,000 patents. He is an incredibly prolific inventor. He is single, he has no children. He lives in New Hampshire in an octagonal shaped house with a giant clock that goes 2-3 stories in the middle of his house that he built on his own. Very, very interesting guy. Gave you some resources over here to learn a little bit about him. And so if ever you have the opportunity to go either judge or participate in Worlds, you will see him. He walks the hallways. This is his sort of baby, in that when he saw the statistics several years ago, back in 1989, that the US was rating in the 20s, you know, 26th, I think, in math and science, he was not okay with this. And FIRST is a way, is his way to get more children in touch with the possibilities of science and technology and engineering. I always have that at the back of my mind, that that's the point. That's what we're trying to do. The vision is to transform our culture by creating a world where science and technology are celebrated and where young people dream of becoming science and technology leaders. So if you go online and look at videos of what the World Championships are like, you will see that they are very, very similar to, you know, the Olympics almost, you know, big lights and noise and MCs and you know, the audience is just packed solid. And that's the idea, is to have people cheering on robots that are, you know, throwing balls in the air or moving things on a table. It's really incredible. Just to give you an idea of what the program has done, I pulled this from the 2019 annual report. So every year as a nonprofit, as a large nonprofit, FIRST has to put out an annual report. They're all archived online if that's something you're interested in. But they started with 28 teams in the gym doing basically what is FRC today. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this gives you an idea of how many students have been impacted by this, how many hours of volunteering it takes to put this on. It's a massive, massive program around the world. So in my previous slide, I said there's 4 programs, but this year, because of the changes, it's 3 programs. I'll tell you a little bit about the other 2 programs that we're not talking about today, and I'll get into more into the FLL in a minute. But FTC, First Tech Challenge, is for grades 7 to 12, ages 12 to 18. So basically kids that are here in Alaska would be in middle school or high school. This is very, very active in Alaska, has been for a long, long time. And that's what my kids compete in this division. Then the next one is what's called FRC, First Robotics Competition. This is strictly for high school students only. And the robots are much bigger. You can see them working on this robot right here. They play on a field that's the size of a basketball field. The teams are huge. Some of them have 30 kids in them. Some of them have $500,000 budgets that they run. I mean, this is huge. But you know, now I'm going to, unless you have any questions on that, I'm going to delve into more the FLL. But basically the idea of showing you this slide is to show you that you can have now a pre-kindergartner that can go through this program and can go all the way until they graduate from high school, at which point there's then colleges have robotics teams where many of our students here in Alaska have gone to UAA and started a UAA robotics program. So it takes your kids, you know, from the time, almost the time they're crawling all the way to when they're in college.
Hey, Elaine?
Yes?
For questions, do you want us to just like interrupt you?
Jump. I do want you to interrupt me, yes.
I guess I wasn't aware that there's a pre-K program. What can you?
The reason you don't know is because that's brand new this year. So let me go to my next slide. So now what I just did is I took FLL and now I've split that into the sub programs under FLL this year. So what they've done is they've split it into 3, and it's called FLL Discover, FLL Explore, and FLL Challenge. So what you are familiar with probably, Zach, is FLL Explore is basically what was junior FLL in previous years. FLL Challenge is what we're doing, just what was, you know, called just simply FLL before. But they've added now this FLL Discover, where you can see right here, pre-K to first grade. So children can participate from the age of 4 in this new program over here. You know, they use the Duplo, the big bricks. I know nothing about this because it's brand new. I don't know if Allison wants to jump in, but you can see that what they're doing is, there was such I cannot tell you the number of times I've had parents ask me, what can my kindergartner do? Well, now we have an answer. You can participate. Did you want to add, Allison?
I will. So yeah, First Lego League Discover is indeed brand spanking new, and it's a little different. It's a school-based program, and so it's entirely run through the Lego education kind of arm of this. I can find the contact people for you, but it's totally in a school setting. So it's not like teams like the rest of the programs are. The First Lego League Explore is just, we can run that just like we did with junior kindergartners. we've had kindergartners on FLL junior teams, and we can keep doing that. So.
Okay. So what we're going to focus on today is what's on the right side of your screen, of course, is the FLL challenge. So if you ever hear me slip into my old habits and I just say FLL, this is what I'm talking about, is the challenge division of FLL. Okay, so now looking at the FLL challenge, and these pictures are all taken right here in Alaska. The referee here in the middle of this picture is my daughter, who's graduating from UAA, fingers crossed, in about 6 months with a chemistry degree. And Lania, like this, she works currently is working also in the COVID testing lab here in Anchorage for the state of Alaska. And she started as a 4th grader doing FLL back in 2008. So, all right. So now we'll get into, so we'll get a little bit into teams. All right. So basically in FLL challenge, we're looking at grades 4 to 8. I don't know what Allison's stance is on this, but we've never been that picky about the lower age. You know, if you have a young kiddo who's just ready for this and they want to do it, talk to Allison, but typically we're willing to work with you. But if we see someone, you know, show up who's clearly over the edge of 14, then we're going to be definitely enforcing the upper age. Just be aware that though that in the rest of the world, they go from 9 to 16. Okay, this was a huge surprise for us. When you look at videos sometimes online and you'll see the German teams doing videos and you're thinking, there's no way those kids are 14. You're right, they aren't. They're 16. Okay, when we went to Worlds that first year, and little Jackson, who's still on my FTC team today, who was, you know, about this tall, he looked up at these other kiddos and went, oh, are we competing against them? And the answer was yes, you are. So just be aware of that. So maximum of 10 members per team. That's the maximum. I'm sort of partial to 6. I like 6 on a team, but any number works. We like to have 2 adults. You need to have 2 adults in your registration that are coaches or mentors that pass all the background checks that the youth protection program. You are allowed to coach multiple teams if you so choose. No problem with that. You can be school-based or community-based or home-based, I guess is what you can call it. I've always had a home-based team, always. If you're the kiddos in grades 7 or 8, that there's an overlap between FLL Challenge and FTC, it is okay for one kiddo to be a member of both an FLL team, FLL Challenge team, and an FTC team. I've seen it before. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they find the time to do both, but they can do both FLL and FTC if they're in grade 7 or 8. Okay. They cannot, however, be on 2 FLL teams or 2 FTC teams. You just can't, because then in competitions, you'd have to be in 2 places at the same time. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So the challenge, which changes every year, we've gone nanotechnology, we've done transportation, medicine, seniors, and this year we are focusing, as you know, on exercise and health and playing and moving. So the challenge always addresses a real world problem. They took a survey of us a few years ago, and I think they got some really good ideas because the topics have been really good since then. In FLL Challenge, it is split into 3 sections of core values, innovation project, and the robot game. So there's 3 facets to the competition, and I will dig quite deep into each one of those. Okay. Typically, the challenge is released in late August. It was early August this year. I don't know if that's going to be a pattern, but it was early August this year. everything you need as far as the challenge is concerned. The description of the challenge is on firstinspires.org. You can choose, and I can switch screens if it's helpful for you, but you can go choose your program, and then from there you can find all the information about the challenge. I think almost everything I'm showing you today you can find on that website. Okay. There are updates specifically about the robot game, but sometimes about project, they update the challenge. So when they send us, let's see, for example, you should, probably some of you have this by now, this robot, the rules for the game. Toby was telling us this morning how they've already made some changes to that. So the updates are posted on there. In my experience, it's often been on Friday afternoons, but not always. So certainly when you're heading to a competition, you want to have a look at that and make sure that you've got the absolutely up-to-date challenge. All right, typical season. Again, typical. Registration opens in May. Is there anyone here who isn't registered? Is there anyone thinking, oh my God, what is she talking about? Okay, so we're past that. So you should have seen your dash. I'll get into the dashboard here in a little bit. All right, so typically in August we get the new challenge, and this is what a normal season would look like. You know, in December, January, we hold qualifiers here in the state of Alaska. Typically in January, you know, we don't know this year. We know it's not going to be January, but is when we would have our state tournament. And then whoever wins the state tournament would go off to various competitions outside of Alaska. We talked a little bit about qualifying. There was a question about the qualifying events. Should we get into this now, Allison? Would this be a good time? I have a little bit more about tournaments after, like.
Maybe when you get to it later on,
okay.
But I will say that First did change the criteria a little bit. So we probably wanted to go into too much detail.
Let's do that. I have a slide on tournaments. Okay. Okay. So registration, in past years, there was such a huge demand that what would be the end of the registration period would be that they'd run out of field sets. There's no longer any mats, basically. And we would get, there's been a couple of years where we would get an email and they would say, we're out of field sets, so we're shutting down registration. It's not a problem this year. I really perked up when Allison said this morning that you were allowed to order a second field set, which says to me, understandably, that registration is down. All right, so you go to firstinspires.org for absolutely everything. Again, 2 coaches or mentors are needed for your team to pass the registration criteria. And then from this firstinspires.org, you can manage all your kiddos and you can invite them to the team, and then they put all their information in there, and that's where you build your roster from this. And this is what Allison was talking about this morning, is going 100% online. So before you can go and compete, and really all of this should be done before. It never does, but it really should be done before there's ever any meetings with the kids, is to have all that stuff online where you've got all these, you know, legal consents and all that stuff, so that you're sort of covered on that side from you know, the paperwork, I guess. And then through your registration, so I'm sure some of you have gone through there. This is relatively recent, where they throw you directly into, hey, do you want to order some stuff, right? So from an FLL perspective, that's in my experience has been in EV3, but now starting this year is the Spike Prime. So we'll talk a little bit about those 2 options that you've got this year. And then of course, that's where you get your field set or your challenge set, the mat and the pieces. Any questions so far?
Can I just add in quickly? This is discounted. So if your team, like sometime this year, decides maybe next year we'll get a Spike Prime, use your dashboard and order your Spike Prime that way.
Okay. Yeah, I quote some prices. It might be the next slide, as a matter of fact. Oh, no, it's a dashboard. I'll talk about budget a little bit, and the prices I'm quoting are the ones that I found online yesterday. So it's possible that when you go and do these purchases through this dashboard that you're looking at right now, that it's even less than what it is that I'm quoting, because I didn't do it through the dashboard. So what you're looking at here is my dashboard as it sat yesterday. So what you're seeing that I have is the JBots team 5223, which is an FTC team. You know, I have in here anything that's red. Typically, it's something that will sort of let you know that there's something going on. What I like about this dashboard now is that for me, I move from my teams, which is when I'm a coach, to parent guardian, because I still have a minor that I have to take care of, who's a member of a team. And then there's volunteer registration, which is where you know, when I go in as judge advisor, I'll log on to this and, you know, electronically let Allison know that I'm interested in that role. And then the school pack account, I think, is for teachers that buy the big, huge kits that come with several EV3s in there. But anyway, if you've all registered, you should haven't. Probably Allison's the best person to talk to, but I can help you also, is to make sure that you've gone here, that you go there often, that you keep working those contacts until all your kids are registered and they've got all the consents are done and there's no more red flags there. Good. Okay. Budget. Here's my budget slide. So, you know, like I said over here in my little yellow box, right? My experience has been that if you're going to start an FLL team from scratch, it kind of takes about $1,000. And let me break this down for you. So you need to buy, if you don't have one, either an EV3 or a Spike Prime. And I say plus shipping. I get very upset with Lego Education when they charge an horrendous amount for shipping. You need to build your actual wooden table that the mat sits on. You need to register each team, which my FTC team was $225 this year. I think, is it still $225 for FLL? Yeah, okay. Then your field has to be purchased and shipped. If you participate in any qualifier, typically, I don't know what it'll be this year, but typically JEDC and Juneau would charge us $100, and the state tournament in Anchorage is typically $100. And then you have all kinds of variable costs, right? You need some kind of a computer, whether it's an iPad or, you know, anything. It's going to be an old Apple, an old computer, it doesn't matter. We've recycled many old computers for the purposes of robotics. If you do a project, you might need some supplies for that. If you do any kind of posters, handouts, t-shirts, if you do, I mean, you'll see everything. You'll see pit decorations and flags and all kinds of stuff, right? Those can go into your budget. And then any type of transportation or lodging if you're going out of town. So I use the $1,000, and there's a whole section on firstinspires.org about how to fundraise, some really, really good ideas. And hopefully, I know Wendy's on her way back from Pennsylvania, but when she gets back, hopefully she can do a session for us. I'm interested too on how it is that she does these grants to help with the budgeting. All right, any questions on that? How are we doing on time? Okay. Okay, so this is what I know about, because my entire FLL career was done with the EV3 kit. So the EV3 kit is I do this slide because I've seen people go to Target and buy the EV3 that's off the shelf, or you go to Over the Rainbow Toys here in Anchorage and you buy that. You don't want to do that if you haven't purchased an EV3. You don't want to do it because it doesn't have a rechargeable battery in it. You have to put AA's. It doesn't have the sensors that you need for FLL. And it comes with what's called the home edition software. This could all be, I don't know anymore if this is true with all that's coming out with the Python based programming, but if you can stay away from that device, do. It's much better to purchase them through Lego Education. It's a little bit more expensive, but it has a rechargeable battery on it. It has more of the sensors and the pieces that you need in order to do FLL. And then it comes with a student edition rather than the home edition of the software, which has more capabilities in it than the home edition. And again, you can, to my knowledge, the EV3 hasn't gone away, right, Allison? They can still do an EV3. It is still available through the registration portal, through the dashboard.
Absolutely is.
Okay.
And I'm going to quickly clarify, when you go to the dashboard, it's actually going to cost you more, because what they sell in the dashboard is the EV3 kit plus the expansion set together. So you get a lot more stuff.
Excellent.
So it's discounted, but it ends up being more because there's just a whole lot more stuff to it.
Okay. All right, Serena.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up about you said a couple of times that it has the sensors that you will need for FLL. Now, the one kid that has been in this before, that is in our group, he was over at the Delta Elementary and he did it for a year over there. And he's the only one with knowledge about this. So me and another mom who are doing it together have never been to these competitions. So we don't have a lot to go on. And so I'm looking at this mat, right? And it has these black lines that go very clearly everywhere. And I'm like, why? They wouldn't have put those in there if we weren't going to use them, right? So I'm trying to figure out, we looked at the robot trainer, tried to figure it out, couldn't figure it out. We'll get it done. But this kid says, oh no, we don't have to learn how to use those. When I was at Delta Elementary, we didn't have to do that. And none of the really good players that won lots of points, they don't even waste their time on that. I'm like, that doesn't make sense that they would put these in here. This is like, that just doesn't make sense to me. It's mind-boggling, but it doesn't make sense. And he says, no,
Serena, you are very clever. You are very clever. You are right. You are right. I can pull up a video of my kids at the state competition, and you'll see their robot, and everything that robot did was following those lines. If you don't follow the lines, you're just asking for heartache, because the EV3 is not a NASA precision device. It's a Lego toy, right? So you were talking about when the robot takes off, you know, if it takes off straight, everything is fine. But if it doesn't, it kind of will do a little quirk. I cannot express from the depth of my heart how many hours we have spent on that problem. And we've come up with the most incredibly simple solutions to solve that problem of what you're talking about. And what makes the robot reliable, because it's really what you want, right? And you don't, not only do you want it to be reliable in your environment where you're at, but that robot in a typical year will end up in the gym at the South High School here in Anchorage. And in the South High School gym, because of the lighting, right? I always joke that I don't care where you're from, what your ethnic background is like, and what you look like in the sunshine. When you're in that gym, everybody has this lovely shade of like glowing orange, because the lights are so horrible in there. But what happens is that ambient light will then affect how your light sensors are working on the table and detecting those lines. So there's one year we went to a competition, and a robot that had detected a black line 1 million times up to that day drove right through that line and never even saw it. And the whole team, including me, were just thinking, oh, what just happened, right? And we went back and did a ton of testing, and we figured it out. So I don't want to get too much into this today, because I've done entire days just about the light sensors and the gyro sensor and how to follow a line. So we'll put that on Allison's list. Now, you said you're a spike team. You are not EV3. Is that correct? Are you EV3?
We're EV3.
EV3, but using the Python software.
No, no, we're using whatever new software they have out there. They said it's related to Scratch or taken from Scratch, but
that's it. That's it. That's the one. Okay. You're not using the blocks and the wires that connect. And so we'll have to, Allison, we're going to need to figure that out. I'm sure there's something out there that I'm going to need to pull out my EV3 robot and do some playing around. But suffice it to say for today, and I'll take the action item from Allison to come up with a lesson on both the EV3 Mindstorm software that uses blocks, which I can do in my sleep, but using the new Scratch or Python type of code, I have to think about that because I've never done it before. But suffice it to say that utilizing sensors and utilizing those lines aren't on the table as an accident. They are there because they absolutely. And when I judged at Worlds, right? The last year that I judged, the team that won was from Canada, and they won because they had 4 color sensors on their robot, 1 in each of the 4 corners, and everything they did was based on color sensors. So we need to get those things working for sure. Now, is that something you do this year in your rookie year? Maybe not, right? We certainly weren't using sensors the first year.
Well,
but
we have a lot of them programmed, but our biggest problem, so we've done 5 so far, but our biggest problem is it's not accurate. It jerks. And if we could just follow a line. And so we kind of feel stuck in that. I mean, we can go around and keep trying to do more, but if there was something that we could learn how to use those, it would totally make a difference in what we're doing.
Okay.
All
right.
So let me toss in a couple things. One is that this thing where your kids are reluctant to use the sensors is very, very normal. I have literally uttered the words, "I'm not taking you to state without a sensor working on this robot." And I think I actually ended up taking those rascals. They had it and they just didn't use it in anything. It made me crazy. So they'll try to dead reckon their way along, but Elaine is absolutely right. There's reasons it's there and it does work. You just have to, the kids have to mentally get there. There are some resources, some places that you can send your kids to learn absolutely how to do things, including use the new version of that software. ev3lessons.com is wonderful, but if you go to the First in Alaska website, which is, I think, behind me still, I think that's what I put as my background thing. But go to the First in Alaska website, and in the FLL challenge page, there's a link that says resources. Go down there and there's programming and robot programming and robot building or something resources. And EV3 lessons is one of them. There's some other ones. There are some awesome YouTube videos and other things from people learning how to make reliable programs and robots. So there's lots of good things out there. But check those links that I put on there. That will help you.
Yeah. And I would love to set up, if there's anything specific like that, for me personally, because I don't know much about that since it's brand new and I don't do FLL. If we set up some kind of a Zoom where you guys are able to show us what it is that the robot's doing and we can do some screen sharing. We may not have the answer for you right away, but I can certainly give you some tips, and it would be really interesting for us to work with you on trying to solve that problem, because we have the concepts in our heads. We may not have the programming language that you're using, because we've been using blocks,
right?
For
that's
10
very
years.
helpful. And it's funny that Allison, it's funny you said that, because 2 different class periods, I said to the kids, okay, we're not going to do anything else, because they love to program. The software is not hard. The new software was not hard for them to learn, so they're figuring it all out. And I said, all right, it all stops until we figure out how to use the sensor. So we went to the robot trainer. We went through step by step what they said to do, and then we pushed the little button and it did nothing. So we spent 4 hours, 2 different days trying to get it to work. And so I had to let him go on that one and say, all right, until I can get some other resources to help me, we can proceed with our in-off project and we can keep programming other stuff, because we're totally at like, I have no clue.
Okay.
My other advice on this is get on them early and have them get it into their head that it's normal to use sensors, because as soon as they get the idea that dead reckoning is okay, that's what they stick to. And so that's what I really had trouble is when I had a team, I had 2 teams, one has been doing this a long time and I could not get them to change. And then the other team, the JBots came down. Actually, I don't think they were JBots quite yet. I think it was right after their FLL team. They came down and paused programming, and my other team got super excited and started using sensors, doing all kinds of things, and actually got the programming award at state. That's never going to happen again either. We don't practice that much, but it was mental. It was like, wow, well, this is how we do it because this is great. The other team was like, oh no, we know what we're doing. We've always done it this way. So just don't let them get into the we've always done it this way mindset with we've always done it this way without sensors. Yeah.
All right. And then, so my next slide then is the Spike Prime. That's, I got this from the website this week. The price, they had it listed, it's right there, $329.95. Not sure what it is through the dashboard because I don't have an FLL team to be able to get that far in the firstinspires.org webpage, but I did do some analysis a little bit. It's got this drag and drop programming using Python. There is no display on the Spike, which I know from the feedback I've read from teams that went from an EV3 to a Spike, they were shocked. What do you mean there's no display? When you're used to a display, I think it's hard to lose it. It does have a rechargeable battery, which is very, very important. Here's the reason why a rechargeable battery is important. For one thing, when you're fully charged and when you're not. But the second reason is as you build a robot and you've got all these pieces, it invariably will block the door that you need to open in the belly of the robot in order to take out your old AA batteries and put in the new ones. And the last thing you want to be doing after you've built this robot and stabilized it and it's strong and it looks good is to start taking it apart just so you can change out the batteries, right? So having a rechargeable battery is really important. It's got a built-in gyro versus the external one that we have on the EV3. And that's about all I know about it, other than, gosh darn it, I want one because I love the pieces that come with it and I just want to play with it. What I've read about it, maybe Allison, you want to make sure that I'm positioning this right, but there's the We Do, that's a product that's used with the little kiddos that are in the FLL Discover. And then we got EV3 that's in the FLL Challenge. I think the idea of Spike was to put it in the middle as a transition that went from the We Do to the Spike to the EV3.
It seems to be a very easy build robot. Yeah. It was I got one to test it out, and it's a quick build, so I can see that being a nice transition. I do bring up the pricing on this. So the Lego Education Spike Prime, so it's the set and the expansion set. Again, a lot more pieces, $410. And then the EV3 core and expansion is $535, but it's a lot more stuff than just that box. And just that box is what I bought, and it's not enough. I should have bought the expansion set.
I'll update my slides with that information. Okay.
I'll send this to you. Bug me and I'll send it.
And just to be, I know there's still teams out there that may have an NXT. I don't think it's anyone in this group, but NXT is still okay to use, correct? Yeah, okay, good. That's for those of you who don't know, the NXT is the one that was before the EV3. It's the second generation. And there are still middle schools out there that have that on their shelves, and they'll probably be using it. Okay. So the question of EV3 versus spike, we just talked a little bit about it. And I say je ne sais pas because I really don't know. I think it depends on the team. It depends on what it is that you want to accomplish. I think if you have EV3s, you know, unless you have money to spend and you want to give it a try, great. But if I was on a limited budget, we can, you know, you can stay with the EV3 and work with this new programming, the easier programming language as a way to get the kids, you know, a little bit more learning the kind of programming that they need. And I'll just add to that because I just thought of it. One of the reasons that they went to this kind of programming at the FLL level is that when my kids went from FLL to FTC, that transition was extremely painful. The junior FLL to FLL was easy, and the FTC to FRC is easy. But the FLL to FTC was very, very difficult. And one of the reasons was programming. So because they did FLL using those blocks, and then they got to FTC, and it was more of sort of what you're used to seeing in Scratch or in Python, the transition was difficult. So by introducing this new language, like what Serena's using in Delta, by using that, I think the hope is that that will make the transition from FLL challenge to FTC a little bit easier, because then the kids are going to be used to that kind of a programming with the lines rather than with blocks that are dragged and dropped. Is there anyone that's wondering what to buy, or has everyone sort of decided what it is that they want to use? By the sounds of it, everyone, I think, knew. Do you have any teams? One team was using Spike. Who was it? I want to know who that is.
So Elaine, I have not done a Lego Robotics team before, so I'm brand new. So I read what Karen's saying. Nope. Zach, to use Spike to start out, but I used to teach Scratch.
Okay.
So, because I've been a technology teacher, so I'm wondering if I should do the EV3 just because I know Scratch. Any suggestions there?
So the programming for the Spike Prime and the programming for the new EV3 program are very similar. They're both Scratch based.
Correct.
So that's almost identical.
Yeah.
And
that's new this year, Carrie. So they've both gone to that kind of sort of line-based code because the blocks, you know, we were dragging wires and it just didn't transfer very well. So from a programming perspective, they're very similar. Now, have you purchased anything?
You know, I think Kathleen might have purchased something for us since everything burned down.
Oh,
so the North Slope, the district has probably got EV3 for you from their stash. And if I were in the market right now to buy a robot, I think I would still go with an EV3 this
Me too.
year.
Me too.
The Spike Prime, there's some bugs they're still trying to work out. I'm watching communication fly, and I would kind of be in the wait and let somebody else work the bugs out mode.
Yeah.
But that said, they're very cute, and there's some really cool things about wire management and some other things. You know, it could argument could be made either way. So
either way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. The team meeting guide, has everyone found that online? This was, I was telling Allison, fascinating for me to read. Several years ago, I wrote a little guidebook that was very similar to this. And about a year ago, they had me send it to them in New Hampshire. And lo and behold, look at this book. I'm so impressed. They did such a good job. I really, really like this little book. I think this is sort of a coach, what we used to have as a coach handbook that was so-so. And basically what they've done is broken down the season into 12, and they call them sessions, right? You will probably have more than 12 meetings, but they've broken it down into sessions. So basically you meet as often as you like. There is no minimum, there is no maximum. For us, the cadence of meeting tends to accelerate as we get closer to a competition and panic sets in. But some teams meet once a week for 2 hours, and teams that you know, towards the end of our FLL career, we had very lofty goals. We would meet 3-4 times a week. There is no minimum, there is no maximum. Understand that whatever time you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. But they first has shown repeatedly that even meeting once a week for an hour and a half has huge benefits. So there is no minimum, just do whatever it is that we can. And maybe this will be the slide that we talk a little bit about how we handle this remoteness right now. You meet anywhere you can. I've seen school homes, church basements, I've seen community centers. We've even set up in the middle of my driveway sometimes when there's beautiful days outside. So wherever you can, set guidelines for the season. So I really like this page 8 where they talk about the tips for coaches and about setting guidelines. And what I mean by that is that there's even very formal, if you look online, there's very formal sort of team, you know, sort of behavior agreements that you make. So some of the schools here in Anchorage, for example, the kids had to maintain a C average in order to participate in FLL. Things like some teams would require a certain amount of attendance, or what do you do if something breaks out with the kids, and some teams like me, home-based, it was all very informal, but maybe if you're working in a school district, this is something you need to put in writing and have have parents sign. But it's really good for the kids to know ahead of time what's expected of them. Now let the kids do the work, but that doesn't mean that a coach isn't involved. And being Canadian, I always talk about hockey, how a hockey coach doesn't, you know, sit in the bleachers and go, there you go, there's a puck, here's a hockey stick, right? You do give them drills, you give them lessons, you work with the kids, and then when it's time to perform, you're behind the bench and you're hands off and you let them go do their thing, right? So sometimes I have parents that I see, well, they'll say, well, I can't even, you know, do research with them. And one of the core values, I think they've taken it off now, but it used to be, we learn together, right? I have spent on some problems days with my kids where they're sitting next to me and we're researching and we're pulling our hair out and we don't know what the answer is, and you know, and I'm working with them. But if I have the answer, I don't feed it to them. So it's okay to work with the kids as long as you don't do the work, you don't do the programming. There's one year I built a robot and I programmed it at night after my kids went to bed, and then I dismantled it and put it away. They didn't even know I did it. The reason I did that was because I had to teach myself a little bit about how this all works. And it was one of the best things I ever did. So as a coach, logistics, right? You're getting them together. Now as an FTC coach, all I do is sign a check. That's all I do. Teach new skills, and that's what I mean there. If you need to go learn the new skill yourself first and then teach it to them, that's perfectly acceptable. And questions, I learned this from Bruce Sexauer, who would say, you know, when his style for coaching was to just never give them an answer, just ask questions. And then team building exercise, we talked about a little bit this morning. I put this as a coach responsibility because the kids can't really come up with them, but because in core values, we used to have a team building activity, this was sort of the point of this, was to sort of get them used to solving a problem together. But now that they've taken that out of judging, I'm thinking, there's no reason I would stop doing this at all, because it was so beneficial for a couple of things. Like Alexa was doing this morning, you do it early in the meeting, it gets all the wiggles out, you know, because because they're often physical, the ones that I get the kids to do. And then the second thing that it does is it really teaches them a lot about how to work together. And as a coach, what I would do is just grab my phone. I'd give them the challenge, take my phone, and I would start a video of them solving the challenge. And then I would have them watch the video so they can see how it is that they spoke to each other, how it is that they went about solving the problem. And then you say, what could you have done better? If you had this problem to solve again, what would you do differently? And those exercises really pay off when they're trying to solve a problem on the robot, for example. So we had a lot of questions at the beginning when you guys were introducing yourselves on some of the things that's on this slide. So I'm not promising I have every answer, but let's talk about that one. How do you do team building exercises remotely? Has anyone attempted that? Because I haven't yet.
Okay, hi, this is Mark. We did attempt one. Unfortunately, we had very few people. Hold on a second.
I'm gonna Google it.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
We're on multiple computers here, so I think there's some background. So we attempted one, and I actually kind of worked with my children and said, okay, how did you guys do it last year? What sort of activities you did? My daughter came up with this idea of trying to do charades virtually. Didn't quite work out like we had hoped. I guess she had they're within her own class at school, since they're 100% remote, they have an ability within Zoom to use a tool to, write down, annotate, so everyone could see what they're supposed to be acting out. And then she tried to do it. And yeah, it took too long to explain, and the interaction from the other participant wasn't what we had hoped for. So that's one thing. Another idea my son had, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it's an interactive game called Jackbox TV. It's on consoles and PC. And basically, I mean, there's a whole ton of different games and activities. It's really trivia based. Because you can run it from almost any platform, that could work. The only issue that we had, I didn't want to devote the time in the meeting to explain to everyone how to get that set up. So, I think it would probably take about 10, 15 minutes, but once they got it, they could get it, and they can do that at any point offline, even, like say over a weekend, if they just wanted to have a team building exercise. That would be something fun. The basic component is already there. All you got to do is just go in and say, okay, it spits out a for each game, there's a particular code. So it's only accessible to the people that are given that. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty good, fun program. They oftentimes play that with their relatives who, we're in Juneau. They play with their aunt and uncles, and those folks live in Hawaii. So it's something that we've used, online, across vast distances, and it works great. So that's a suggestion that I think. Yeah, and our son also suggested Kahoot. You said
Kahoots.
Okay, so that might be another thing that could work. But I don't know that I would try to do it within a meeting. Maybe you could devote time in the meeting to explain it, but then the kids themselves would do it. They'd do it offline and coordinate the meetings when they wanted to play that. So that's our experience. But it's definitely been a challenge for sure.
Yeah. So Kahoots, when I do summer camps, I use Kahoots so I build my Kahoot at the end of the day with questions that have to do with what I taught during the day. And then the next morning I'll run them through that. But then what'll happen is they'll ask, oh, can we do a Kahoots on, the Avengers, let's say, and they all kind of do it together. Certainly that can be done because it's not one that I would build. It's one that's just available you know, in their database, and the kids would do it. There are some that are available that have to do with science. There's some that have to do with engineering. There's some that have to do with FLL that other teams have put up there. So although it wouldn't be sort of solving a problem per se, it certainly would be a way to build some rapport with the kids when they're, you know, sort of separated. Allison, do you know if FIRST has either at the headquarters level, or if we could do it here in Alaska, would be to start I don't know, somewhere where we can all contribute and we can sort of say, hey, we did this remotely with the kids and it worked really well. Because it's not something I've researched, but I'd be really interested if we started doing some research, if that's something that could be, you know, one team tries it out, and if it works well, you kind of tell everybody else.
I would be shocked if that's not happening someplace in a good standard way. I know that there have been some things like that on the FLL Share and Learn Facebook group. I threw that out on the chat.
Okay.
I know that some teams have put Kahoots things together, in fact, and they've said, hey, we put this together and you guys are welcome to use it. So those things are out. FLLtutorials.com has a core values section, and they have some of them that are virtual, geared toward virtual. You will want to mess around with them before you try it with your group. Like there's a puzzle one that I went and did. Unfortunately, I did mess around with it first because the puzzles were really, some of them are lots and lots of teeny tiny pieces. And so I was able to go and find one that didn't have, you know, that had larger pieces, and at least it didn't take, yeah, it was tricky. It was tricky. But you know, teams all over the world are trying to solve the exact same problem that we're all dealing with right now. And FRC and FTC teams have been on this. They've been on this, trying to figure this out. So let me keep working on this, and I will try to put something on the Facebook page where I put some resources together in one place.
Okay.
This is a hot topic. To me, when I'm getting mine together, it's really a matter of, I'm just trying to get mine to connect and talk to each other. And we've done a lot of on the whiteboard. What's the game where you draw a picture and Pictionary kind of thing, where one's drawing a picture and the other ones are trying to guess what it is real fast. And so we've been doing that. That's a simple one. I just threw the chat. I send somebody a word, usually having something to do with the challenge, you know, a sport or something. And then the other thing that I have done is I have delivered some Lego bricks to my kids, some Lego pieces to my kids, so that, because we normally do a building challenge with Legos. But if there's something that you can get to them, or something that you know they have in their house, that you can think of an activity that they can actually physically build there, that would be a good way to do it too. So it's not just you and a screen, because that's a hard way to go, you and a screen.
I have a thought. Another fun drawing thing you can do besides Pictionary is one person has a drawing, like a simple drawing, like maybe a stained glass or just a picture of a fish or a moose or something, but you have it drawn ahead of time. So one person has the drawing, and then you take turns explaining to a person that isn't looking at the screen, and they try to draw the whole thing. And then at the end you reveal like what it should look like and what it did look like, and it's really funny and fun. So we've done that. And then our team wanted to do a survey asking different people about exercise and what they did, and do some research with a survey. So we used Google Forms, and we made, everybody got on Google Forms at the same time and worked on the questions that they wanted to ask. And we edited it live together as a group. And then when they were happy with it, then the survey was finished. And then we were able to email it out to people that we knew, getting information and background about what different exercise programs they do. And the survey I thought was a really neat collaborative tool that the whole team could get on and do together, Google Forms. And it immediately tabulates everything. So it's like magic. There's not a lot of like hand cranking after that. It does it for you, the program.
That's great. All right, that sounds like a great, I've written it down as something my JBots can pick up as a outreach activity. I think this is a great idea. Yeah, this idea of the hidden, the drawing and describing the drawing. One year, the challenge was in the core values session was, I think we'd given the kids maybe like 20 Lego pieces, and they had 2 identical sets on 2 tables at opposite ends of the tables with a box that would cover them. So one side of the room would build something, and then they had to describe to the other side of the room what they built, and then they'd compare the 2 pieces, you know, so something very similar. It worked really well. Okay. Okay, so that was the team guide. The engineering notebook, in my mind, is the student packet that goes along with the team meeting guide. So the team meeting guide to me seems to be more for coaches, whereas the engineering notebook pairs and dovetails very well with the team meeting guide to for the kids to then fill out the sections that mirror for each of the sessions, the 12 sessions that they have. So again, you know, they build this around 12 sessions. In the span of a season, we would have a lot more than 12 sessions. So a session could be broken up over several meetings, depending on your schedule. The way I read this, and this is new to me, but is that you just keep filling out sections of this engineering notebook, and then at the end, whatever judging looks like this year, whatever you've got filled out in your engineering notebook, the kids should bring that to their judging session and should show it to the judges. Again, the engineering notebook was brought in last year with the FLL program, because in both FTC and FRC, I mean, I'll give you an idea because it happens to be sitting here. This is book 1 of the JBots engineering notebook from last year, which is, you know, all the meetings and you know, pictures of the season. And so what happens is, again, they're looking at the transition from FLL to FTC, what can make it easier. And this engineering notebook, the part of the idea here is to get the kids into the very real life practice of taking notes of what it is that you do every day and making sure that you record things. So again, that's on the firstinspires.org. And are they mailing pre-printed copies this year, Allison? They are. Okay. So might not need to use up a whole bunch of ink like I did. Okay. Is it not mandatory? Is that correct?
Right. And there's one, if you go into your dashboard, there's an interactive version of that engineering notebook. So you can actually type right into it on a PDF.
See, I don't have access to that because I don't have an FLL team. I love it.
I think, yeah, actually, I'm not sure which one I sent to you when I attached it, but you may have an interactive version.
Yeah, this is the printed version of what you sent me. Yeah. Okay. We had a hand up somewhere. Serena.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It looks like my son might have broke his wrist, so I actually have to go.
Oh.
I heard
it's 2020.
Yes, playing football with his brothers. He's little. He's only 6. So I'm gonna have to leave early. Thank you so much for your help. Is there a way to finish watching this later?
She's recording.
I'm recording. Yay! So I will put this link up on the website. Go to the training link on the website, and I'll have it there.
And there will be some time in the future, maybe like a tutorial on how to use sensors, if possible. Maybe.
Well, contact me directly so that we can set a time.
Okay.
because I would like to see, before I start talking to a whole bunch of people, I don't want to waste everybody's time, is to look specifically at what the issue that you're running into. If you're okay with us working collaboratively until we find a solution, and then we will share that solution with everyone.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Okay. All right.
Do I need to have the team, or can it just be me? Because
we
I'm
can
going to
figure it out.
how to do it.
That's fine.
Perfect.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great day. Bye.
All right. Bye. Okay, so that was the engineering notebook. All right, here's the slide on tournaments with in the picture, the world famous.
I had into like a kind of a.
Mark, okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yep.
Okay, sorry about that. So it has to do with, it's kind of a mix between the meeting slide and the engineering slide. So in terms of prioritization for what they need to be trying to work on accomplishing, right? I understand that obviously there's core values and, you know, the three components would, as I'm seeing it, would be fun, core values, and the completion of the challenges to the best degree possible, right? Mm-hmm. So when we're having our meetings, especially in the early phase, I noticed in some of the notes it talked about the completion of the base robot. I think we have one that's kind of a pre-existing one that they can use that may be missing some things, but I think that's going to be our start. But as I'm understanding, as I kind of visualize this, that seems to be probably our first priority, to make sure that's working and functional, and combine that with core values. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to figure out, you know, as someone who's new to this, and I don't have an engineering background at all. So that's another challenge that I'm trying to work through here. I want them to have the best chance of success as they can. But I don't know. I don't have enough. I don't feel like I have enough knowledge myself to. I can help, but I'm not going to be able to drive them through this process. They're going to have to do a lot of the work themselves to get where they need to go. So in terms of overall objectives, am I kind of looking at the right, you know, two things right off the top?
So let me see if I'm understanding your question. Is your question that they should sort of focus on a sort of basic robot to begin with? And it's there's I think there's one in here, right, that they, trying to remember here, that they recommend that you have. So have you got like a building instructions on a basic robot? Have you got that?
I think, no, my daughter's shaking her head right now. I think last year they had an EV3, yes. Yep. And that we still would have access to that, correct?
Correct.
And that is missing a few parts and pieces, correct? Okay, so once we get that, then we'll be able to test that and make sure that that's working, and then they can do whatever modules they need from there. Okay, so she's shaking her head. And also core values. So that seems to be the two. I'm just trying to prioritize.
Okay.
Okay.
So a couple of things. Were you present this morning when Lawton was talking about these boxes that they've got ready to go, full of pieces they can just ship to you? So that's the first thing I would do. You can just ask for what did he call it? Booster box, I think is what he called it. So I would ask the FRC team, by going on the website that he gave this morning. I would ask the FRC for a booster box. Anybody who's on this call can do that. Seriously, I've been in that Connex. I think they said 10 years today. No, there's 20 years of Legos in there. There's an obscene amount of Legos, right? So write to the FRC team and ask for one of those booster boxes, and that will maybe get you your pieces, right? If there's a specific piece that you're needing, you can look on the website, also what Lawton was showing this morning, and making sure that the piece that you're missing is listed there. If it's not there, call me. I have 12 years of Legos in my garage that's collecting dust, and I have a lot of very quirky pieces. So typically I can help you with those. If that doesn't work, then I can give you a couple of links. Brickowl.com and bricklink.com are kind of eBay for Lego pieces. And so it's multiple people all across the world that list their Lego collections on there, and you can, you know, buy like 3 of that little piece that you need to make the world perfect, right? You can do that and they'll ship it to you.
So let me just throw out Juno Team. Start with me, because I have that same kind of collection, only it's not as well organized. No, but come see me and I can probably hook you up with whatever parts you're after.
Right.
But regarding the engineering notebook, this thing, I just printed out one because they only sent 2 this year.
Okay.
So I went online and printed it out, and I gave every kid one to bring home on the team, because this book is good. You know, it kind of shows the board. It has that really fun cartoon about what the project. It has the core values. It shows I like the cartoon. This one kind of shows you what this year's theme is. And then this morning they were talking about the core, this page for the core values. So I made sure that every kid had one of these, the engineering notebook, and just print it out yourself. And then everybody takes it home so they can show their family what they're doing and work on it at home. And just kind of refer to, and then you can have one version that's like the team version, that you could have a summary and show it to the judges, and like have a, you know, one team version. But I liked that everybody had their own copy at home. I thought that was helpful. Or it can be emailed. You can download it and email it to everybody so they can have it electronic if you don't want to print it off.
And then if you have, if you're feeling adventurous and you would like to try out some other robot designs, I have several that I've accumulated over the years that tend to be, and when we get to robot design, I have we have a picture. I can jump over there if you want, but that tend to be that square frame type of robot that works. If you look at the teams that do really well in FLL, they tend to have a box robot. I have some building instructions that can be built with the normal everyday EV3 kit, the one with the core and the expansion. It doesn't require any other pieces other than that. It has built-in, well-insulated light sensors in that design, and it's got a quick way to do attachments to just pop them in and out. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I can email that over to you. It's just the normal building instructions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get that.
You're interested in that, Mark? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, we just have a little bit of time left. I'll just very, very quickly go through some of this. So a day tournament is going to be, it's a full day. In the morning, expect to have a coaches meeting together with the head judge, me, and the head referee, who will, you know, give you some details for the day. 1 30-minute session, judging session, not several like in past years. And then in the morning, you'll be able to do a practice run. In a virtual world, this may look slightly different. In the afternoon, we have opening sessions, then you'll have ceremony, then you'll have 3 runs for your robot, the whole 2.5 minutes. And the highest score of your 3 runs is the one that will go on the board. So you can score 0, 0, and 100. Your score is 100. The 2 zeros don't matter. Okay, then we have medals, high five line. That's what a typical day looks like. As preparations, and I have suggestions on here, so if you're interested, I can give you this, but have a packing list, because the day before you go on a competition, and this may be 2021 before we're doing this, or 2022 before we're doing this, it's a good idea to start thinking ahead of time on what to pack. Okay, so that's tournament. We talked about this morning. Do I need to go over this. This is how your 30 minutes is going to be broken up. No one's done that yet, except for the 3 states where they did a little bit of a dry run with this. So this will be brand new. Okay, we talked about core values this morning. Let's see here. I mean, I think what I want to say about core values is that the rubric, which I have right here, is so simple because you have to think of everything the team does as being always built on a foundation of core values. So core values in the judging session will be judged on every single thing that goes on in that 30 minutes, not on 5 minutes of doing a challenge. I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly. We talked about this morning. If you have time, if you have artistic kids that aren't so interested in the robot itself and are more artistic, which is what happened with Aaron when Aaron designed the Brickmasters logo, have them design a logo, come up with a color scheme, teach them about the RBG values so that the red that you use in your logo is always, always, always the same red. We have it posted on a wall right next to me so that we know when the kids use this computer, they know that on the JBots logo, it's a particular red and a particular orange and a particular yellow and so on. So they learn about branding. Okay, we talked about that. I want to get to the robot. I want to show you some designs here. We talked about the judging sessions. You can have a prepared introduction that is perfectly acceptable. You just have 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, they're going to expect you to start on your project. But if your introduction has built into it you setting up your project, that's perfect, right? Make it fun. We've had kids sing their entire project presentation. Super innovative stuff. Really, really cool. This is kind of interesting. I've put in every section some sample questions that you can use when you do practice, some practice sessions with the kids. I haven't gone through this with a fine-tooth comb to see if everything in here still applies, given how everything is judged together, but still it should be very useful for you. Here's some more questions. Okay, the project. I loved Allison's video this morning. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Here's what she read to you. Identify a problem, research it, design a solution, share it with others, and prepare your 5-minute presentation. In my years of doing FLL, what we found was extremely useful was a prototype. What you're seeing on the right here is a prototype of the Shake a Latte of the Trash Trek year that eliminated stir sticks by shaking your coffee for you so that you didn't need a stir stick. And we built, this was a Lego prototype. Then the kids did a 3D printed prototype. And I've seen now in the paperwork that they've sent, the engineering notebook and the team guide, they highly recommend for your project to build a prototype of your solution. So whoever was saying earlier today that, it could be really cool to have a cool Alaska based, exercise gadget that's invented. It's really cool if you can build a prototype, even if it's, it's never something that you would manufacture. It puts the kids in contact with people. Like for us, we go to Palmer and we meet with a company down there that does this amazing work with metal and they laser cut stuff for us. And so they're interacting with the community and learning about manufacturing is really cool. Rubric, very simple again. I'm getting close. I think we've talked about this. 5 minutes for your presentation. You can do anything you want. Go online and look at YouTube videos. There's 1,000,001 ideas. Like I said, some people sing it. Some people have, a skit. Some do more like a standard presentation with trifold folders. Here's your sample questions that you could have asked during that 5 minutes that the judges can ask questions. Why did you pick this idea? How do you think it's going to benefit people? How much would it cost to manufacture? People forget about that. The kids forget about that one. What would it cost to manufacture it? Robot game. Here's my little Jackson over here, who's on my team this year. I don't think there's anything on here. Trying to get to the robot design. Okay, let me get to the picture. Here's the picture. Okay. So the one you're seeing on the left is one of the robots we took to Worlds. And you can see it's got the brick and it's got a frame around it, right? You look at this very simple one over here, still the same thing. It's got a frame around it. I found this one yesterday when I started researching what a spike robot would look like. Guess what? It's got a frame around it, okay? This design is typically very, very successful for several reasons. When you have the straight walls on your robot, you can use that, and on purpose and with intention, you can use that to bump the wall of the table, and it will straighten your robot out so that you're at exactly 90 degrees. It's heading in 90 degrees perpendicular line that's perpendicular to the wall of the table. Okay. All our designs have always had 4 points of contact on the ground. So we have 2 wheels that drive and 2 passive wheels, because if anybody has built the famous Lego Educator, I think it's called, robot, which has 3 points of contact on the floor, right, on the table. So you have 2 driving wheels and 1 point in the front, right? Questions for the kids who are listening. What happens if you bump something with that robot and it's in a triangular shape? Right? That robot ends up tipping over. And once it tips over, it has no way of recovering. And then you have to go get it. And that's when you get a precision, you lose a precision penalty, those red discs on the table, right? You can use, I don't know much about Spike, like I said, but if you look at this robot here on the left, you can't see them at all. I have pictures that show it, but there's 2 color sensors on the bottom of that robot that are pointing down, okay? You look at this one over here, it's got over here, should be an ultrasonic sensor that measures distance here. You can tell this one, this Spike one over here, has a color sensor that's tied to it over here. In FLL, typically you have that pointing down because you're detecting the black lines. So like I said, I don't have much on Spike, but I do have quite a bit on EV3. If that's something you're interested in attacking, I've got a variety of building instructions that I can share with you that if you want to, you can attempt those robots. Let me see what I have. Let me see, hang on, but I'm trying to make right. So when you're for brand new coaches here, when you build your robot and you set your robot in the launching area and you set it off, that robot can do, with one program, can do several missions. Okay, so you don't have to just say, okay, we're going to do mission 3 and come back, and then we'll go do mission 7 and come back. You can send out your robot, if it makes sense, to do mission 3 and 7 and then come back, right? And as you get better and better, you've got arms going all around this robot, and as it's going, it's able to do several missions along the way, and then you bring it back home. Switch out your attachments quickly and then send it back out. Would a video be useful? I can if it's useful, I can go get the one that I have on my computer of my kids. I don't know if that's useful. We have just a few minutes that we're done, basically.
Yes, we'd love to see a video.
Okay. And I'll show you the one I know. I'm not trying to show off or anything like that. It's just because I'm familiar with it. Let me see here now. I have to think. I have to go over here. And I want to go to I want to go to Brickmasters. And I think it's called. Oops, where'd it go? Okay. Okay, hang on. It's starting. Boom. You guys cannot see that, right? No? Okay, so share screen. There it is. Share. Now, let me say something before it starts. Your sharing stop. Oh, where did my mouse go? Oh, 2 things about this video. Back then, it was an 8-foot mat on an 8-foot table. Okay, so you're not going to see the black strip like you have now, because now the mat's gone to 7 feet. That's the first thing. The second thing is, back then you'll see the kids with pieces moving on the mat. The rules have obviously changed since then, and they were allowed back then to take things off the table and back on. So with the understanding that what they're doing in base is slightly different than what you'll see this year, pay attention to the changes in the attachments, how quickly they are. Pay attention to the robot. You can't see the light sensors in this video, but you can imagine the light sensor underneath and how it's using that black line. This was for us a perfect run, except at the very, very end, you'll see that the robot does a really weird turn. And we found at the end of the day that there was a 3M dual lock piece that was on that table. And that what happened with our robot is it hit that piece of 3M dual lock that wasn't supposed to be there, and it just totally threw the robot off. But otherwise, it was working perfectly well. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to press play.
How many motors and how many sensors does that robot have?
4 and 4. So there's that's my other daughter. My daughter was reffing them. Okay, so watch this. When it finds that black line, watch what it does. See how it found that line and just went straight?
How many different, like, the guy was calling them sorties, but how many different, like, programming, I see him, you know, touching the robot there. How many, every time they touch it, it's a new programming?
Correct.
Okay.
The new program, but it's doing several missions.
Right. No, that part I get.
Yeah.
So we have our robot set up. One of the problems we're having is that our robot doesn't go straight. You said it before, but our robot doesn't go straight. Our wheels might be slightly differently sized, or the motors are working in slightly different speeds. I mean,
yeah,
we're programming it, we're telling it to go straight, but it's not going perfectly.
It's not going to go straight. Yeah. It is for sure a challenge, and there are many, many things that you can do. For example, when you see them in base, let me see if I can do this. You can't, as it's too bad that Serena's gone, because I know she was saying she's having this problem, but hang on, I think I have to do this. Okay, so right here, when that robot is in base right now, because of the flat bumper that it has, what's programmed in that robot that you cannot see to the naked eye is the first move. Listen to this, kids. I can see we've got kids listening here. Is it backs up into the wall for half a second. Okay, every single time. That does 2 things. If the human who is operating the robot is, as should be expected, nervous and doesn't line up that robot perfectly, right? It's okay. You put that robot down, set it all up, push the button. The first thing it does is it backs up to that wall, right? So now you know you're 90 degrees exactly heading in the right perpendicular direction. That's the first thing it does. The second thing it does is that when the kids are playing around with the robot and setting it on the table, and maybe they're backing it up or so on, what Serena was talking about, it builds up tension into the gears that are built into the motor itself. Okay, so if you have tension that's built in that's not equal on the right and the left side of the robot, when you tell that robot to go, it's going to release some of that tension. And if that tension is quite a bit different, it's going to do a little kick to the right or a little kick to the left. And now what should be a perfectly straight line isn't, because it never took off correctly. So when you put in a move, it's a one block move that's super simple. It's the power block. I don't know what it is in the new stuff because I don't know anything about it, but you turn on the power in reverse into the wall for half a second. Don't use rotations and don't use degrees, because if you're bumping into the wall, even if you tell it to go just a tiny, tiny little distance, if you've lined up that robot properly, it may not be able to back up for even 5 millimeters, right? But if you tell it to back up for half a second, no matter where you position that robot, half a second will elapse and then it'll take off, and it'll take off straight. So that's one tip I can give you to make it go straight, is one thing. The second thing you can do is use the gyro, but the gyro is a finicky, it's a finicky sensor. There is a video that I did when Becca was still there, Allison, where I did a whole lesson on gyro sensors. So I don't know if we can dig that up. I'm sure it's somewhere on the First in Alaska website, but I did a whole lesson just on the gyro. Okay, and I explain what's finicky about it. I give programming lessons. I have a presentation for it. And so when you see this robot turning, you can tell how it's turning kind of slowly. It's because the gyro is very finicky and you have to wait for the gyro to get a proper reading. And then as soon as we can get on a black line, forget about the gyro, we're using the light sensor. And so that's why when you see it, and I think it might be this one, hang on. No.
I'm sorry, the programming we've done on the black line, it wiggles really bad.
Okay.
I haven't, and I don't know what we're doing. It stays on the line, but it really wiggles.
So you're doing a two-state, black, white, black, white, black, white?
I'm doing an average, I think.
So what happens is,
I followed the instructions on the tutorial.
I agree with you. So if you do a two-state line following, you're going to get what I call the zigzag effect, right? Zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. And then you're telling it to go a particular distance, but you never know, every run that you do with that robot, you never know when it gets to whatever the destination is. You never know if it's going to be on the zig or if it's going to be on the zag, right? And there's just no reliability to a two-state line following. There is a 5-state line following. And the Brickmasters have a video. I think we've moved it to our JBots website. I can verify that, where there's a 5-state line following. Then there's the 100-state line following, which is what this robot is using. It is incredibly complex. But my kids were doing y equals mx plus b. And so we use that in order to get it to go straight. There's a much easier way to do it now. We haven't made a video on it, but it's where you, and I can do a lesson on this if you want, but basically for every degree that the gyro or that the light sensor detects that you're away from the line, you convert that into steering in the green block, and it works really well. And it's about 6 blocks, maybe 7 blocks. It's really, really simple. So if you've done line following and you're not happy with it, maybe since we've done gyro, Allison, there's really no reason to repeat gyro, but we could do a line following, a proportional line following that's one step above, and it's extremely effective, and it's relatively simple programming that I think everybody can understand. And what I would love about that is it would motivate me to make a video, which I haven't done. I've wanted to do it for a long time. But you can see how without following that black line, to get from what was called base, the launching area on this table, all the way to the other end to pick up that little loop that's this big, right? You cannot do that with dead reckoning. You just can't. you might get lucky once, right? But you're not going to do it repeatedly over and over again. You have to use sensors.
So question for you.
Yep.
Is this one of the robots that got you guys to Worlds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm putting this into perspective. You guys watch them do all these amazing things, and these are some awesome concepts. And but the likelihood that you're going to like get this to happen on your team this year is really, really, really insanely remote. If you can do that, I want to know how you did that your first year. Okay.
This is year 4, I think, maybe even 5.
And they put a lot into this.
Yeah.
So your team, maybe my team this year, I don't know, we might go to the tournament, and we might get there. And the way we're working right now, being able to meet virtually only at this point, shoot, we might get there and be able to get one mission done. I don't know. That might be our tournament. And if that's our tournament, we're going to make that a good year. First Lego League is big and broad, and you can make a good tournament out of anything. It's really how you do it. So keep that in mind as you go. It's really not about, you know, how many points you can acquire. It's really about your team and where you guys are and what you can do with the time you have and the resources you have and what you're going to put into it, and just have a fun season with it. So that's my my perspective on it. So this is the way that this is the Cooper version of a good season. This is how we call a successful season. At the end of the year, if they want to come back and I want to come back, that was a successful season. It doesn't, going to state isn't part of it. You know, and none of the rest of it. It's just, if we all want to do it again, that was a good season. So there we go. Anybody have any other pressing questions for, I put in the chat log, Elaine, if you're good with it, I'm going to put the slides into onto the website for the training, in that training link, that same area where I'll put the link for this recording, so that they can get to it. And that will be available for folks. And I know there were a number of people that were interested in that design for the EV3, for the box robot design, square robot designs. I will copy this chat log so I can get emails out, but I don't know if maybe we can put that link also, like we can talk and figure out how to get those resources.
Right, I'm looking, so when I was doing the presentation, I can't see the chat. Now that I'm looking at the chat, there's several requests for the build instructions. Oh, and you put the link to Lawton, that's excellent. Okay. So yeah, I have one email here, so that'll be really easy.
I can get them to you.
Okay.
Hopefully if you're registered as a team coach, and actually the North Slope teams, I don't think you guys are. I think I just have Kathleen's email address, but I'm not sure. So,
okay, so
North
Carrie,
Slope,
I have. I think I'll just.
If you haven't emailed me already, shoot me something. Actually, I think you may have both already.
Oh, yay.
I'm not sure. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Okay, so
well, thank you guys for putting in the time. It was a long day. I think we're about wrapped up, huh?
I think so too.
Okay,
I'm going to go for a walk. So yeah, look for that file from me. And again, if you're missing pieces, reach out to Allison, to me, or to the FRC team, and we'll get you the pieces quickly so you can assemble these robots.
Thank you guys so much. And I would love a line following video as well.
Okay.
Thanks for all your time.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Allison, you want to hang out for a second just so we can coordinate and making sure that we have everything we need to send to everyone?
Absolutely.
Just give me 5 minutes.
Good plan.
Okay. Let me text my girlfriend. We were supposed to go walk. I told her, though, I said, you know.
Yeah, we're doing doing robotics.
That's right.
Mary, you still there? How's your team doing?
So I am still here. Sorry, I was trying to figure out. I was off running somewhere else and listening on.
Yeah.
So we're doing pretty good. We had a meeting. We've had 2 meetings in person, and like the first one only like my son and 2 others came, and then the second one was my son and two others would happen to be different ones. So it worked out good, actually. I'm like, well, maybe we should just do it this way, because we had the first team, instead of, we had the first team build some of the missions, and then the next time that they built the different missions. And then I'm like, there's a couple kids we haven't met with, and I'm like, well, maybe we should invite just them to build the last missions. And so it worked out pretty good. So, and then I was just listening today, I'm like, and then maybe the project, do a lot more Zoom planning for the project.
Yeah.
Meetings for the project. So just trying to coordinate, because we have one kid that's downtown and one kid that's out of the country.
Okay.
I don't know if she's going to be back after the new year, with school or not. But if we're keeping her involved. If she's back, she'll be ready to go. And then it's going pretty good.
Well, Elaine actually had a teammate that was in Houston one year, right?
We did. He moved halfway through the season, from oil town to oil town. So he moved from here to Houston, and as it just happened, we qualified for Worlds that year, and it was in Houston. So when the kids introduced themselves to the judges in Houston, they said, "Hi, my name is Alexa, and I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. Hi, my name is Mitchell, and I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. And Anchorage, Alaska. And then it gets to Braden, and Braden goes, "And my name's Braden, and I'm from Houston, Texas." And the judges went, "What?" So, tell the story and all that, and they connected with the judges right away. It was very cool. And we ended up winning the core values trophy at Worlds that year because of that story.
Oh, good. Well,
so remote isn't always bad. It's challenging, but it's not always bad.
Yeah. So like I said, we've had 2 meetings, and we missed them. Like, we were going to meet every Wednesday, and then we missed a meeting, and it's the COVID thing. First, my husband works at the fire department. There was a little scare through that group, so we had to cancel one meeting, just to like, okay, let's just, no, there's no real issue. We're just going to be on the safe side and keep everybody, no one concerned, I want everybody to be comfortable while they're doing this.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. I don't know. Everybody has different comfort levels with the COVID. Like, some care, some don't care, and so I'm going to go on the far side and consider everybody really caring and really want to get out, So, but it's fun. It's exciting to have a table in my garage. It's a little.
Yeah,
I gave them a table.
I've been there.
Got it out of storage.
They're playing with it, probably. Like, what are you doing? Nothing. So,
yep. All right. Well, good. Holler if you guys need anything. And the thing, parts, if you guys find that you need another fill in the blank, I have many, many, many parts down.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna look at I was like, oh, that's good, because just extra parts for creating a robot. It's I was gonna look at those websites, but I will, if I find something on there, I'll let you know and see if you have the parts.
I have parts. So like you'll end up seeing a lot of designs that have 2 color sensors. They work great for a lot of things, but the kids don't have 2 color sensors.
Yeah, we just have 1. So that's what like, oh, maybe we should
give me a yell. Give me a yell, and I'll they're here somewhere. I haven't found them, actually. I keep having to rob them from some sorted stuff here, but I'll figure out where the camp staff stowed them somewhere. I'll work. But anyway, I have them. I know I have them. So
okay.
But yeah, don't buy parts here in Juneau. Come see me.
Okay, sounds good.
Especially this year. I have lots of stuff that's not being lent out right now.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. Hey, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
So I've got 3 people. I've got Carrie, Polly, and then I guess it was Meg, andymeg@gmail.com. Yep. That's what I'm seeing. What's I like?
There were, is that it? Okay, Carrie.
I think it's this one.
Perhaps that's Carrie, Meg, Mary, that we just got off there would like the.
Does she want it?
Yep, she does. Her email address, you know what, I can get it for you.
Okay.
We could probably turn off the recording.
Oh, good point.
Let me do that.
I can't remember if it's this one.
Let's see.
Or let's see.